Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my TFT patch 10.2 note rundown. For people who don't know, TFT has been in this weird situation where their 6 synergies and 9 synergies have not been very good. What this means is that essentially this set has become more of like a splash set. Like you don't go 6 summoners, you go 3 summoners and 3 something else. You don't go 6 mages, you go 3 mages and something else. You don't go 6 assassins, you go 3 assassins and something else. It's fine in my opinion to be able to constantly be able to splash stuff. I think it shows good skill expression. However, my biggest problem with the current meta is that the end game stuff has not been very good and very kind for these full synergies. Stuff like 6 Inferno is barely playable, 6 Shadow is hard to play as well. And so I don't mind it not being the number one thing to do. I do think, however, there should be situations and times where you would want to use them given certain situations, and those situations don't ever show up. I've heard that those things tend to be, oh god, I've heard that those things are going to be corrected in the current patch. So I'm excited to see what this patch note has. Greetings to those of you who play TFT. That's me. Welcome to patch 10.2. This is the one where we gain buffs on all the traits, champions, items we could use a little love. We got a couple of nerfs as well. For the most part, we're aiming to make unused or underpowered things a bit more exciting. We have a few general system changes aimed to make the games go a little bit faster. Last but not least, we're raising the RNG floor for item deaths to make the games a little bit more fair while maintaining variance from game to game. Cool. Alright, so the PvE playing phase round goes from 30 seconds to 20 seconds. I think that's fair. Generally speaking, the first 3 rounds especially, you don't really have to think at all. And a lot of the PvE rounds, you don't really think at all anyways, because you don't even have to really move. The item system has had a average gold decrease. Full items drop significantly less. Full items only drop if you're already rolling item components. You cannot no longer get 2 full items in the same game for PvE rounds. Drastically reduce the chance of Fawn appearing in the carousel. Oh wow, so there's no chance, a very low chance for Fawn to appear in the carousel, which is almost guaranteed before post, I think, level or stage 5. But I think that this is really good. Kind of the less variance of openers. Right now, if you get a 2-item opener with Nico's, and you can't start 10 gold, that's a really, really hard position to come back from. It's probably one of the worst positions in the game to come back from. Additionally, if you get 4 items and don't make great stuff and you get no gold, it tends to be also somewhat difficult for you to come back from as well. I feel like the best thing in the game is to get 1 item and 30 gold or 2 items and 20 gold. And I think that that's too much gold to get on average. And so lowering the possibility of getting this amount of gold or this high amount of gold and kind of reducing the variance is a good thing for the early game. PvE minions and monsters now means effort, great quality of life change. Okay, Bramble Vest got buffed in terms of items. They went up by 20. I think the internal cooldown would need to reduce for me to really appreciate this item. I think right now Bramble Vest can't see play in the super crit dominant meta that exists right now, but generally speaking, Bramble Vest is one of the weaker items in the game and could see more buffs than just this. Bloodthirster lifesteal goes up by 10%. I think that's okay. Generally speaking, because there's a lot of shields, especially with Karma, your hyper carry generally won't want this. Olaf already has built-in lifesteal, and the Rangers would want Karma to shield them as opposed to getting lifesteal and just pushing out more damage. There's not many units in the game that would really appreciate Bloodthirster in its current state, up until other items get nerfed. Rageblade attack speed goes from 4 to 5%. I think Rageblade tends to get nerfed and buffed the most of attack speed items. It goes up and down in percentages quite a bit. I think now that the games are much quicker as opposed to elongating due to how it used to be at the very start of the set, Rageblade value got decreased, so they're increasing the attack speed. I think that's okay. Ranger buff, by the way. Hextech Gunblade Omni Steel goes up by a little bit. Like Bloodthirster, just doesn't see that much play because lifesteal isn't as important, especially with so much shielding in the game. And just in general, it's not as important as better items. Iceborne freeze duration increased by a full second. This is a really weak item. Generally speaking, you want to put it on Kindred or Ezreal and use it effectively to CC lock people out. However, in actuality, it doesn't end up being very good. I think increasing the CC duration is a great buff to actually make it more viable. Lock at the Iron Solari shield value goes up at 3-star. I think actually this item probably needs to be nerfed. I think it's one of the best defensive items in the game. And you can slap it on early and it gets value throughout the game. But yeah, I don't really think this needs to be changed. If anything, it should go down. I don't think this have any impact on the game. Luden's Echo goes up in value. And up to 250 on 3-star. Realistically, all this means is nothing. No one's going to be running 6 mages unless they buff mages by a lot, which could happen because they said they were going to buff traits. It's really just a Kog'Maw buff because the only champion that can get 3-star consistently and uses Luden Echo really well with a low mana pool is Kog'Maw. The other low mana users, Kindred as well as Ezreal, don't really use Luden's Echo, although might start using Luden's Echo now. But Hyper Rolling Predators has always been able to get a consistent Kog'Maw 3, and the extra 50 damage that Luden's gives, stacking multiple Luden's makes is even better on Kog'Maw. It's weird how Predators, or not weird, I guess it's interesting how Predators, since the only synergy that it synergizes with items are ones that are able to abuse items the best. So items like Bramble Vest and items like Luden's are really best suited for Predators over other things. Assassins, so 6 Assassins got buffed. 3 Assassins got buffed by 15% critical damage, and 6 Assassins got buffed to 225. I tried to make 6 Assassins work for 3 days earlier last week. Found 0 success, except for situations where I found the Kha'Zix 2 with Seraphs. It's a difficult thing to pull off. You need Desert to run Assassins right now to do max damage, and you need a lot of good items, and a lot of the earlier Assassins like Diana don't tend to scale well into the late game. I don't know if making it like this makes 6 Assassins better. Likely it's going to make 3 Assassins good, and you're still not going to go 6 Assassins. So a lot of the Assassins, especially early like LeBlanc, don't scale that well. Blade Masters. Blade Masters can no longer store extra attacks than the maximum trait level provided in 1, 2, 3. In short, this means it's less likely, if not impossible, for your champions to go infinite off their auto attacks. Specifically, this nerfs 4 and 6 Blade Masters. And Blade Masters have a reduced chance of getting extra autos. This is a really convoluted thing to say. Essentially, like your Blade Master procs can proc more attacks, such as proc more attacks, which can allow you to like get like 4 to 6 hits in a row. This definitely nerfs BM, and this nerfs BM as well. I know a lot of people tell me that Blade Masters are done, like they're dead. I will believe that when I see it, because every single patch that tells me Blade Masters got nerfed has not worked out, and Blade Masters will probably still continue to be a decent composition. Moving on, Desert got the 2 nerfed and the 4 cost or the 4 synergy buffed. I think this is great. I think 2 Desert has always given too much value in the game. Everyone splashes 2 Desert and never needs to go to 4. So I think reducing the 2 and increasing the 4 is really, 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 really nice. This is generally a hard counter to the Warden buff. It's something to keep in mind. This set didn't really have a hard counter in it. This is the first hard counter to a synergy that's existed. Although, to be fair, you could argue that 90% is essentially a hard counter in the first place. Inferno, 6 Inferno goes up by 10%, and 9 Inferno goes up by 40. You should just discount the 9. Like, you're not going to get that without Lux, and it's really unlikely. The 6 it's okay. It's a very below average comp. It generally relies on you hitting like a really strong Kindred, as well as hitting a really Annie 2 and the Mumu 2 to pull off successfully. But it's a little bit of a nice buff for a weak trait, which I think is what they needed. What is this? Mages, 100% chance to double cast, 100% chance to double cast, and 20 AP to all mages. Wow, this is so nice. Okay, so 6 mages is actually pretty good. The biggest problem with 6 mages is similar to other stuff like 6 assassins, is the stuff that's not mages, or you have a lot of shitty mages. Like you have mages like Talia, Syndra, Vlad that don't scale well into late game. And you want to throw those out, because realistically, when you're running mages, Brand is the only person you care about. And the other people are like ocean bots or like just enablers for the synergy, which is why really late game, all the mage players tend to sell their mages and put everything on a Lux too. Because it's just more value in one unit than you can get across 2 weaker units and 1 strong unit. I think having 20 AP to all mages is really, really nice, and a good way to kind of encourage people to play more 6 mages. Like definitely something that I'm going to consider, and something that, remember when I said 6 synergies are weak? Stuff like this, stuff like this, stuff like this, stuff like this, they all tend to buff the 6 synergies quite a bit. Additionally, what is Shadow? The duration goes up, and the 6 Shadow kind of bonus damage goes up by 25%. With both the Shadow and the Inferno buff, maybe Shadow Inferno becomes a little bit better. Kindred is already seeing a decent amount of play. I think a lot of, I don't know, I think it's Aegon who tends to go Kindred like every game I've seen him play. But there's a decent amount of Shadow players who tend to either run like 3 Shadow, 3 Inferno, or 3 Shadow, 6 Inferno comps, which tend to crush the mid game and then allow you to a sizable health pool to eventually sell your Kindred items to put on a Lux. But it's nice to see the buff. I don't think 6 Shadow is playable, but without the Lux, but at least this buff is fairly nice. Wardens, we went from 150, 300 to 450 to 999%. Essentially, this is we hit the slot machine with this number. This will shit on a lot of like physical damage comps. If you're trying to play like Sivir and you have 2 Desert, even after the reduction, you still have 500% bonus armor. So if you're running 6 Wardens into like a Blade Master physical damage comp or a Ranger physical damage comp without shivs, my god, they are going to do 0 damage. Your Malphite is probably going to solo them by himself. So this is a really interesting. I tend to always really like Wardens. 6 Wardens became unplayable pretty much when Thornmill got removed from the game and replaced with Bramble Vest because it's just not as good. With the Bramble Vest buff as well as the Warden buff, we might see some interesting compositions, maybe having with 6 Wardens with Mystics being able to kind of make a comeback against some of the team comps that are squishy, and you can grind them out with Wardens. Nothing top tier probably, but something that you should think about, especially because Warden spat used to be one of the best spats in the game and is definitely easy to get 6 Wardens into your comp because there's just so many in the game. Woodland, the Woodland Lux the way they phrase this is the strangest way I've ever seen them phrase something ever. It's like someone just was typing like all official and then like they walked away and the intern came in and typed this line and then scrolled down so they wouldn't be able to see and delete it later. So what this means is that if you get the Woodland Lux as well as all the other Woodland units, you're able to clone every single unit in the late game. It's essentially hilarious. In reality, it's probably still a super high roll comp, but at the very least, when you're hyper rolling Woodlands, you have that very rare 2% out with the Woodland Lux. Champion balance. Leona and Karma are probably too strong, so reductions to Leona, always good. I think Leona single-handedly makes it so you can't stack Ashe. 1 Leona 2 makes Ashe do 0 damage, because Ashe breaks her auto in 5 different places, in 5 different pieces, 3 to 5 different pieces, I don't remember which. And Leona tends to negate each of those pieces to 0 damage. So it's really hard to stack Ashe, which is why people are stacking Twitch right now. So nerfs to Leona are good in my book. I don't think a 1-star tank should be this tanky. Malzahar got minion buffed, better to deal with other units. However, I feel like this is really scary because the reason why Malzahar and summoners in general aren't that good is because Sivir exists right now and can crush your comps. However, Sivir's getting a nerf next patch, and I think Malzahar is actually kind of an underrated unit to stack. Especially given how strong other summoners are, you're very easily able to make like a shadow summoner comp that Malzahar can go crazy in. And if you don't have AoE, like with buffs like these, Malzahar could definitely take over the game. So I'm really interested. I think Malzahar is gonna be a great unit to stack in the next patch. Ezreal health and AP go up. I'm gonna be honest with you. Ezreal is one of the units that I always want to make a comp around. He's best in 4 glacial, 3 poison. But he doesn't do AoE damage, so you need like your Singed or your Olaf to hard carry the comp. Because he does single target, like he takes 5 shots to go through Yorick and the minions, and by the time he does 5 shots, your front line's dead to their enemy comp. So he tends to be something that doesn't scale too well, regardless how much damage he gets. I just feel like the punch isn't there. Maybe if in a different meta it might be the case. But if you have a Seraphs, you would always stack Kindred over Ezreal because at the very least, Kindred gets the healing reduction and the extra shadow bonus that allows her damage to go multiplicative crazy. But Ezreal never really gets that multiplier, and instead the utility doesn't really balance the payoff. So I don't think Ezreal, I think the buffs are nice, but I don't know. I just don't see Ezreal stacking being the thing. At least not something that you won't pivot off of. Maybe it's like a good mid-game monster, and then you pivot to Lux later with the items. Karma, the attack speed went down. I think Karma is too good of a unit, similar to Leona. So nerfing her, good idea. Scion mana increased, so you're more guaranteed to get off the sign. The mana Sivir bounces decreased to 5, 7, and 9, which is huge nerf actually. Especially the Sivir 1. She's still probably going to be fine. I think 10 bounces was kind of insane, given how much damage she could do with 1 bounce, especially with crit. I think that she's in a better position, obviously better position now. And Sivir comp is currently, in my opinion, the best comp in the game if you high roll. If you get the best pieces, Sivir 3, Azir 3 is probably nearly an unstoppable comp. However, given the recent nerfs to here, like I don't think it'll be nearly as good, and I think that's great. I do love the Scion buffs. I think he's one of the units that I love to stack. Potentially he has an ulti that can't be interrupted, one of the few, and so the payoff for getting like a good position on the ulti, especially because he's a shadow, he can get a lot of damage off of it. I like it a lot. Veigar spell damage went up a little bit. I think generally speaking, this is whatever. With Veigar, you're just looking to push Veigar 3 almost all the time. And if you can make the Ocean Veigar comp work, great, you can win the game. And if not, you're placing like top 3. I think maybe it's different because with the 20 extra AP from 6 mages, and you might see mages more common, 6 mages being more common, maybe the extra AP to Veigar means that he doesn't even need to be 3-star to just one-shot people, because his average ulti with no items will be doing like, what, 750 damage? That's pretty good. And then the Olaf attack speed got decreased a little bit. I think that's a good call. He gets a lot of attack speed from his stuff. And I think there's situations where I feel like Olaf can go almost without an attack speed item, and it's okay because he's so strong. So nerfing him is, in my opinion, not bad, especially if you nerf Sivir as well. 3-star champion adjustments. So Renekton ability power went up, Vlad ability power went up, Ashe attack speed went to 100%. Wait, they nerfed Ashe attack speed? Oh, they increased her AD. So that she scales way better off AD, so she still does stupid amounts of damage. Okay, cool. I don't really care about any of these 3. They seem not very important. And Karma is no longer tall. Got it. Got it. And oh, this is the biggest thing. Kindred didn't work well with didn't work with Joe Gauntlet, like period. Like it just wouldn't crit. So if you thought Kindred did a lot of damage before, now her best build is Seraph's Joe Gauntlet IE, and she's gonna crit for 2k on every ulti, I think at 2-star. So Kindred is gonna be actually really scary going to the next patch after they fix that. They buff 6 Infernal, buff 3 Shadow. Something to keep in mind. I think if you're not stacking Kindred right now, would recommend. Anyways, that's all, folks. I'm off to vacation. Peace.